Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Scary Stories by the Campfire. We are your counselors tonight, Jeremy,
And Jason.
and it is our 1 year anniversary.
Yes, it is. We are celebrating our 1 year anniversary. Can you believe that, Jim? We've already been doing this stuff for a year.
I know it's hard to believe that literally a year ago we were doing the pilot, talking about what we liked, why we were doing it in the first place. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we were talking about ourselves.
Oh,
That's what the pilot was. That's what the pilot was, Jim. Just go ahead and say it. We were promoting ourselves.
what better people to promote than ourselves?
Yeah, well, we're the ones that do the show, but I'm really kind of glad that we fell on this one because for our 1 year anniversary, fortunately, it falls on Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. I usually tend to say like Dead by Daylight, but
No, it's ain't Dead by Daylight. Although Ash isn't Dead by Daylight.
yes, Ashes and Dead by Daylight. Um, which ironically, I think the other series I was gonna pick for this one would have been Alien, which ironically would have fallen on Aliens, which would have been a good 1 year anniversary movie to go with. Also,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like this one a little bit better.
Of course you do.
Um, but I mean, Alien has it's a new chapter for Dead by Daylight. So,
Yeah, yeah. You got new stuff for that one too. All right. Let's
so
dive into this.
let's say let's dive into the Deadites of Evil Dead 2. What'd you think? Although I kind of already know some of your opinions on it.
You already know that so far out of the three original films, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, this is my favorite. And that is it.
That makes sense.
Um I do like the aspect of this movie being more of a um there's a lot of comedy to it. I actually when we were watching it Monday, we were watching it actually seemed a little bit more funnier than I realized, especially when you got people like laughing and hooting and hollering and stuff. Like, oh my god, what's going on? This is so stupid. What's going on is just ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. I think in the original movie, some of the funny moments, we put funny in quotes, is because of just like the way it was shot, the way it was filmed. This one was particularly purposefully funny.
Yeah, and I think you get more of the class. You can see the transformation for Bruce Campbell's character. You see that transformation of Ash from Ashley to Ash. Like you start to see that change in him. Um, about in this movie of that one that we've grown to know and love.
Yeah. I think most people nowadays are probably more familiar with the Ash versus the Evil Dead series, where he's. I think we spoke about it last week, where he's like that kind of arrogant. Arrogant's probably going too far, but he's kind of like that hotshot guy. You know, he gets them into trouble, but he can also get them out of trouble. Um, the best option there is to not get yourself in trouble in the first place. But in this movie, the first, what was it, 10, 15 minutes is just pretty much a rehash of the first movie to an extent, except we're missing people.
Yeah, we
Uh,
are. Scotty.
missing Scott and his girlfriend and the sister.
Yep.
Sister's completely gone. Thinking that had something to do with I think it had to do with like a studio thing. Like they didn't have the rights to use any of the first movie, so they had to
Well,
kind of reshoot everything. Huh?
Well, Stephen King is the reason why this movie even got made.
Well, yeah, I think I was just reading that just now when I was looking at the.
Because he was such a huge Evil Dead fan, and he convinced De Laurentiis Entertainment Group to finance it, and they were actually doing Maximum Overdrive at the time.
Maximum Overdrive. Is that considered a horror movie?
Yeah, it's Stephen King.
Doesn't necessarily make it.
That's true. He did write Stand by Me, and that's not horror at all.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I think this one's like the epitome of what like Evil Dead is. Wait, you love which movie? PJ Doll said I love that movie. Which movie? Maximum Overdrive or
Probably,
Stand by Me?
probably
Probably,
Maximum Overdrive.
probably Maximum Overdrive. That's the one where they had a
The Green Goblin
yeah
truck.
the Green Goblin truck. So yeah, we were sitting here watching the movie, and the movie is you really get to see kind of Bruce Campbell's acting ability, I should say. His ability for physical acting,
Yeah, he
especially
takes a
especially
beating in this one compared to the first one.
well, not only that, but I think he did his own stunts because they were on such a you know smaller budget, or let's say smaller than the first one, but it's not like a $5 million budget or whatever movies make nowadays. This is a small budget movie, um, and yeah, so there's like the scene where his hand gets possessed,
Yeah, and he's like sitting there like breaking plates against his head.
and he's throwing himself around a room.
uh,
Uh,
During movie night, it reminded me of Liar Liar with Jim Carrey.
yeah, and there, you had to see where he's like dragging himself across the floor with the hand. Um, I mean, to a certain extent, that's probably to say he was using his feet to push him along because it was off camera. But, yeah.
The hand
So
was hilarious.
man, he just put a chainsaw to that thing. He's just like cut off, and he's like, "Who's laughing now, huh? Who's laughing now?" He's getting blood sprayed all up in his face.
And then you can actually hear like the little noises from the hand.
Yeah, the little hand was squeaking. Then he shot it with the shotgun, blew a hole in the wall, and then blood came gushing out. But I think it becomes established later on that the sister and the friends were there at the cabin. I don't know if they just didn't have any replacements or anything, because I think it gets mentioned in like um, Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yeah,
They
it does.
actually, I'm not entirely sure. It may mention them in Army of Darkness, but I don't know. And I know for like Ash versus the Evil Dead, they weren't allowed to do anything with Army of Darkness until like X amount of time, I think. So that didn't actually get referenced until like season 3 or 4, whatever seasons there were. So, but so in the canon of Evil Dead right now, so far we have Ash and his friends go up into the cabin. Everyone gets killed, and then in this one, it picks up the next day, and you have the owners of the cabin showing up, which
It was his
Evil Dead,
daughter.
Evil Dead, yeah, it was the guy's daughter, but Evil Dead's always been kind of screwy with what actually happens in timelines and stuff like that, because if you go by the idea that um, there were 5 people at the cabin, then what Scott said that he had rented it or something,
Yeah,
like a rental, or he was borrowing it from someone.
I think he had heard about it.
But in the second movie, Bruce Campbell's Ash is just like, yeah, there's nobody home. I got this great cabin up in the woods. Nobody's home. We'll just stay a couple nights. So essentially, they were breaking and entering. Um, they didn't find the book in the cellar. Um, because I think when in the first movie locked Cheryl in the basement or in the cellar or whatever, and then after that she blew the door off. Just but in this one, nothing. No, the door's still there. It's perfectly fine. And instead, we get the more infamous Henrietta.
Yeah, which is played by Ted Raimi.
Ted Raimi. And I think it was this movie. I think it was this movie that suit that Ted Raimi was wearing. Check this out, guys. You want to be grossed out? Check this out. The suit that Ted Raimi was wearing to play Henrietta, which was the big fat deadite in the cellar there, it had no air holes or anything in it, right? So the bodysuit would just fill up with sweat. And they said when they would take the suit off, they would have to dump. There would just be a whole bunch of sweat that just ran out of it.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, because I don't know if it was like one piece all the way to the feet or if it was like right around the ankles that you had it like done up. So yeah, ew, gross. Yeah, he would sweat in it and it would build up inside of it. So whenever they were done shooting and they took him out of it, they had to dump it out because it didn't have any sort of air circulation or anything to keep him cool. I don't know if that happens too much nowadays. I think with way makeup and stuff work nowadays, it's relatively breathable.
Uh,
No.
I mean, Jim Carrey did an interview when he had to do The Grinch, talking about how long and how heavy and all the problems he had with makeup when he was playing the Grinch. So
Yeah, but did he have any sweat issues?
no, he had overheating issues.
Oh, I guess that makes sense too. If they're gonna put you in a suit like that, at least they could do is drop the temperature a little bit.
He said it got super hot with all that hair.
Yeah, that's actually probably true. I think Ted Raimi may have had it a little bit easier because his was, well, I mean, unless they were using some sort of thick rubber or thick latex or something that was holding everything in.
It was crazy. Uh, just like I said, the whole movie was crazy, and
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so right after one, this one takes place after a little recap or whatever. Um, Ash tries to leave during the day, which seems like a very relatively short period because he's outside. Because at the end of the first movie, you see the demonite point of view or deadite point of view. My bad. The deadite point of view right into Ash. That's the end of the first movie. The second movie starts off with kind of a quote unquote flashback rehashing of the first movie minus three people. Some of the scenes are cut down. Just kind of the main thing. Ash uh, releases the deadites. Uh, Girlfriend gets possessed, kills her. She comes back, so on and so forth. And then they do the scene again through the house or the cabin, and he gets possessed, and that's supposed to be like in the morning. And then um, he kind of pushes it out. He gets his vehicle. He's gonna drive away. Makes it to the bridge, and the bridge is destroyed, like it was in the first movie.
yep,
Well, by the time he gets back his vehicle, it's already starting to turn nighttime. It's already starting to get dark.
that was a very
But we're all
fast 24 hours.
yep. But we are introduced into our new set of characters. Don't worry, they're entirely pointless except for the main girl. What was her name? I don't remember her name off the top of me head. We got
Linda,
was it Linda? Linda was the main one, right?
that's his girlfriend. Yeah, she was the one that they did the whole stop motion dancing.
Oh no. Well, yeah, I mean that was because his girlfriend gets played by like a different actress in every single movie.
That's
Uh,
accurate too.
Annie.
Oh, you're talking about in the other movie?
Yeah, in this movie, Annie.
Yeah, the daughter.
Yeah, so we're introduced to four new characters: Annie, Jake, Bobby Joe, and
Oh, Bobby Joe.
they don't got that guy's name on here. Unless no, it wasn't Jake. Who's the little truck driver guy?
Was it not Jake?
Oh, I thought.
No, it's fake. It's Scott Spiegel. They just have him as fake Shimp.
That fake shimp.
Yeah, I don't know why they have him labeled as that. But the actor is
No, no, no,
Scott
no,
Siegel.
no, 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 no. It's Jake. Ed. Ed was the boyfriend to Annie. That's where all my confusion's coming from. So you have Annie and Ed, and then you have Jake and Bobby Joe. So those are our four new characters, and like I said before, they're not really anything special.
Hey, just a fun fact. Jake, the actor, he's in another Sam Raimi movie. He plays a train person in the second Spider-Man movie.
Train person.
He plays train passenger in
There's
Spider-Man 2.
well, I mean, when you're afraid of Sam Raimi, you kind of put in stuff.
I mean,
You just
even
have
Bruce Campbell has his cameos in Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
well, yeah. Actually, did you? I can't believe we're gonna run off topic. Did you hear what the plan for the fourth movie was, or did you?
I
You?
told you.
Well, I knew about it before you did, bro.
No, it has
Yeah.
Vulture and Mysterio and Tobey Maguire.
Well, that might be like the new plan. But originally, Sam Raimi was actually supposed to do a fourth Spider-Man movie
Oh
before
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah, yeah,
canceled it or whatnot, and Bruce Campbell was actually supposed to be Mysterio.
yeah.
Like all the cameos in the other movies was the same character throughout, so it was just kind of funny. But no, so you got the four people that come back to the cabin. They can't get across the bridge, so they take another path, and they get in there, and insanity ensues.
Yeah, they knock Ash out with the butt of the shotgun and kick him into the cellar.
Yeah, this movie is nothing but insanity. It's um uh, copious amounts of blood, just in like the most humorous way, I would suppose. Because Bobby Joe meets her fate in the woods. She gets dragged off into the. You almost have like another one of those tree assault scenes like in the first one, but instead they try to drag her to the ground, and then yeah, he got beat a lot in this. Ash,
Yeah, no, multiple times, multiple times.
multiple times. But Bobby Joe runs into the woods. She gets tangled up. Whoosh, out she goes. Probably splattered on a tree or something. I don't know. Ed, I don't even know what happened to Ed. I must have blinked and he died. But he became a deadite. And Jake got pulled into the cellar.
Yeah,
And
my old.
that's that scene where the blood just comes spraying out like it was Nightmare on Elm Street. Just you know. And they actually did. I think they changed the deadite blood to green.
Yeah, they changed the
It,
color to try not to get an X rating, but unfortunately they still got an X rating.
yeah, that was them trying to do something different. It didn't stand out because I don't think any other time you see green blood in any of the other material. So once
But
again, Evil Dead does not stick well with continuity.
they never have. So, what was your favorite scene in the entire movie? It's all a bunch of fun, but what's your favorite time of fun?
I think I like the hand scene. I mean, there's multiple scenes I could say. I like the mirror scene where he's kind of talking to himself in the mirror, and the mirror reflection of him comes out of the mirror. That scene was fun. Jake going into the cellar and the blood sprayed out. It's fun too. But I just like the plates like that. The whole hand scene where the hand becomes possessed is using plates to hit him in the head and drag him to the floor or flip him or do whatever. He's just so physically over the top. It's just fun to watch. And to know that he is the one doing it, it's not like it's some sort of stunt guy. He is the guy doing it. You're looking at him going, wow, I didn't know he had that kind of physicality in him. Well, yeah, now you do.
If I had to pick a favorite, it was the ending when he gets to medieval times to set up for Army of Darkness, and he's just like, no, no.
Yeah, I think that's about the point where PJ was like, oh my God, this
What?
movie. Yeah. Um, which also leads into the Army of Darkness. Only problem is with that is by the time we get to Army of Darkness, when we get Army of Darkness on Monday, though that scene where he's standing there and the deadite bird thing flies and he blows the head off, everyone's like, "Oh, hail the great whatever." None of that exists. Like when we get an Army of Darkness, I don't remember what Army of Darkness looks like, or I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know how it starts. But I know that's not how it starts. It starts off with him, I think, landing and then them arresting him and
Yep,
taking him to
something
prison.
like that. I
So
remember.
it's like they just keep changing these things. They just keep changing these things. So
There is no continuity. I think.
yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, you could take like the general idea. 5 people went to a cabin. All of them ended up dead except for Ash. And then the events of Evil Dead 2, where the 4 people came in and did their thing. They all died. Ash ends up in medieval times, saves the day, comes back to present day, and gets old for Ash versus Evil Dead. So,
Yeah, and in Ash versus Evil Day, he ends up working at a supermarket place.
okay. Well, he used to work at, I think at the end of Army of Darkness, he's working at S Mart.
Yeah, he's still working there.
No, I think they changed the name in Ash versus Evil Dead. I think it's some sort of generic name because I don't think they could have used S Mart because once again, some sort of copyright thing.
It was just, yeah, he works for that. Uh, but just like the last movie, all of the practical effects in this one, like, were just as good, if not a little better, than the original, because they did have a little more money to work with. I do know
Yeah.
that wearing those white contact lenses, they couldn't see anything, and the only way they could do everything was through like it lots of rehearsals. It's kind of like marching band is what it reminds me of. Is that they have to do it with their eyes closed basically, so they had to basically memorize where they went over and over again.
Oh, there it is. So he originally worked for S Mart, but then in Ash versus the Evil Dead, he works at Value Stop.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Value Stop.
And he lives in a Winnebago.
Yeah, some sort of Airstream trailer.
Yep.
And then he gets high and reads a book.
Some
And then
rad
there's
poetry.
yeah.
That's what
He, wow.
And at some point, he gets taken by the entity and dead by daylight.
I think the way they tie that into it is that it's like at the end of like the show. I think I haven't seen the ending of the show, so I'm not entirely sure. But
I haven't
I
seen
know.
it in a while, but I need to rewatch it. It's such. The entire show is him trying to get to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think he does do that. I think spoiler alert for anyone out there.
He does for a little bit in one season. Like at the beginning of the last season, he is in Jacksonville.
No, it's season 2 actually. He because I remember season 1 because at the end he has the book, and Ruby, who's been tracking him throughout like the entire season, is like, "Give me the book." And he's like, "I don't give you the book." She's like, "Well, you give me the book, I'll give you anything you want." He goes, "Okay, I want Jacksonville." So she was like, "Yeah, okay, what? I'll get okay. Jacksonville will be deadite free. Everything else will be mine. I'll take control of everything else, but you get Jacksonville." He's like, "Yeah." And then season 2 starts with him partying in Jacksonville. And then I guess deadites did invade or something. And then lo and behold, there's season 2. But they took it off Netflix, so I can't watch it right now. I have to, unless it's on like some one of those streaming services, Stars or something.
I don't know. There's so many streaming services nowadays.
Nowadays, yes.
It's
Too
just as
many
much to pay for them
streaming
as it is cable.
Yeah, yeah, it does build up quite a bit. Um, so out of everything that went on in the movie, what did you not like about the movie?
I think they could have dialed back on the comedy a little bit. I think you kind of lose part of the horror element. Yeah, it's bloody. Yeah, it's gruesome. But I think some of the comedy was a little over the top. They could have dialed it back and kind of added a little more horror to it.
You might be right on that aspect. I've been boasting about this movie being like the perfect, and I mean I'm still, in my words, I'm gonna say it's still the perfect Evil Dead movie. But um I do believe that it is actually a little bit more comical than I remember it to be. But with the way things start working, like I said, I've only really seen the Bruce Campbell movies. I haven't seen the remake. I've not seen Evil Dead Rise, and I haven't even finished Ash vs. the Evil Dead, so I can't really
You've
consider them.
never seen the remake?
I've never seen the remake.
You're in for a fun time.
Oh, you seen the remake?
I've seen the remake.
And what did you think of it?
I like it.
Don't spoil
I won't.
it. I mean,
I'll
to be
just say
fair,
I'll say it like it's one of those few remakes that I actually was like, I get it. It's okay.
I mean, to be fair,
To be
I,
fair,
to be fair,
to be fair.
I did watch the kill count on it, so I do know the basic. You know, I know who dies. I know what happens. I know some of the more infamous scenes in it, but
Yeah, and
uh,
I watched the Nostalgia Critics comparison video where he compared the original to this one.
oh, I have to go back and to this one.
Not to this one, to the first one. Sorry.
Oh, okay, so it was the original Evil Dead to the Evil Dead.
Yeah, because
Have you?
he said that the main character in the new one is better than Ashley in the original.
Yeah, I could probably see that. Knowing what I know from the character in the remake, she does. If you're comparing her to Ash in the first original movie and that's it, yeah, she's better.
Well,
'Cause, I mean,
and I know we'll talk more about it when we get to it, but like the one thing I can say about that movie that I did like was the so she actually is the first one that starts visualizing like the stuff happening around her, like the deadite stuff and all that, the trees moving and all that jazz.
yeah,
But like you kind of know, they go to the cabin because she's going through, I believe it's heroin withdrawals,
yeah, they're trying to get her off the drug.
and they make it so you don't know if it's the withdrawals doing it or is she actually seeing something.
Yeah, I do know that they take like a very different approach. It wasn't like they're just going up there to vacation. They are actually up there to help her get through this, and the way she starts breaking down and freaking out and stuff like that, and visits and whatnots, it makes it more believable in the fact that why they won't listen to her entirely,
Yeah.
because they're looking at her going, "Hey, you're going through withdrawals, you're going through like craziness right now." So yeah, but I think overall her character over like original Ash is better, because Ash in the first movie is more of just kind of a bystander survivor. I think he doesn't do. I don't want to say he doesn't do much,
He
but
does a
he's not.
lot, but he's not the Ashley that we all know and love.
Yeah, he's not like the quippy, one liner hits on all the ladies kind of Ash with the boomstick and the chainsaw. He's the guy who's
Which is
screaming in the corner and getting slapped into bookshelves.
which we started seeing that Ash in this one. He does because he brings in the his one liner of groovy into this one and swallow
Well,
this.
yeah, he stepped on that thing. We're gonna swallow your souls. And he steps on its head. He's like, swallow this. Blows its head off.
Yep, and then he's also when he gets all his gear together, he's like groovy.
Yeah, he had the cool groovy too. He's like groovy.
So now we're starting to get into that realm of the Ash that we all like. So if we're, like I said, comparing her to this one, this Ashley
Uh,
obviously wins for me.
um,
But
I think to a certain extent, I think
this Ash would not work in that Evil Dead movie.
no, because that movie is way too serious. It's way too dark. Which I had seen an article that said with the popularity of like what Evil Dead Rise did and how good that movie was, they need to bring Ash back. But they don't need to bring him back in a movie form. Bring him back in a television series. Do you like the television series where you still have like funny Evil Dead, while the movies can continue to dive into the real dark, gruesome stuff? Because that's what we start getting. Because with the Ash stuff, you have to find that line. The first movie was supposed to be serious. This movie was a little bit of both. The next movie is gonna be all funny, and you start losing that sense of dread. I mean, even in this movie still had moments of dread. Still dark moments that were like, will they get through this? Will they not get through this? What's going on? Type of thing. Um, like when they came through the path to get to the cabin because of the bridge being out. Then they're like, "Oh, we need to escape," and they're looking out the window like, "The path's gone. It's like the forest swallowed it up." Um,
Heck, Ash even turned into a deadite.
he got possessed a couple times. Had to push through.
Which I'm
Magnifying
really
glass.
glad he did.
What do you got on your nose, Jeremy? People who could be listening to this on third parties, Jeremy's putting something on his nose, a little black spot. He's just putting stuff on his face. And apologies to everyone who's hearing me sniffling and snorting over here. I got some sort of little bug going on, so I'm kind of all sniffly. But I was able to make it to the show tonight, our little campfire. What is that?
I
Looks
don't
like
know.
a oh, it looks like a little piece you screw off the tire, the air. That's what it looks like. But but yeah, I think there was an article out there they were talking about how they wish the movies to continue in the darker trend while maybe bringing back the series to do a lighter trend. Kind of
Yeah,
keep
I would
it.
like to have another series because I want to bring oh, what's his name? Pedro. I think it's Pedro.
Oh yeah, Pedro.
Yeah.
You have old Pedro. Yeah. Yeah. The show is good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like the show. I know. I think the movies are doing just fine, but I do like the idea of maybe bringing Ash back in the
Pablo. His name is Pablo,
well, yeah.
not Pedro. Pablo.
Yeah. I don't know what is Pedro for. Oh, vote for Pedro. Napoleon. Gosh, these deadites are like freaking idiots. Votes for Pedro. Um.
Oh my
Oh God. So yeah. Yeah. So I would prefer Ash be in the series, but if the darker stuff is really pushing it, then it would be really good to also continue that too. And that's the problem right there is you can't have Ash, even like Ash versus Evil Dead. You can't have him in the new movies. It doesn't fit. His comedy would be out of place.
With as dark as they go, yeah, it definitely
But
would be.
I mean, there is dark stuff in the series. Don't get me wrong. I was watching. I watched the whole first season and part of season two, and I was watching. Going, wow, that's really dark. But there's an edge to it that's just nice and round for comedy. It fits perfectly with what Ash would do in that situation. So it's like that's kind of funny too. It's very very dark comedy, but the new movies are so dark now that comedy would just really not make it good.
So, little thing for your favorite scene. It was completely improvised, and it was done on a first take.
Sweet.
It
Yeah, I
it, it
I didn't
goes
realize it.
speaks to volumes on what he will do for the movie.
Yeah, I mean, oh, another scene that I really really liked. Um, the one where the chasing through the cabin. They go through like the doors and the walls, and they're going through the wall crevice.
Oh yeah 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 yeah.
That one huge long shot that followed him around. Yeah, that was a really good scene too.
That scene with the way they shot it reminded me of in the Halloween. I'm not the remake for the new trilogy in the first
Yeah,
one.
well, like Halloween 2019 or something,
Yeah, where
whatever
it's
that
just
first
called
one.
Halloween. They do like a long shot like that where it's just one continuously long shot of him walking down the street going through from house to house.
Yeah, I was never one for like watching like the actual camera work or the soundtrack, but as I've grown and
We started pointing it out during podcasts.
well, stuff like that. But I mean, even before podcasts, I think the first time I really, really, really noticed it was in like the Daredevil Netflix series. They had a scene in season one where it was a fight scene. It was down a hallway, and I think I think Dad and I were watching it, and the fight scene was going on, and Daredevil was fighting from one side of the hall to the other, back to the other, and there was bodies being thrown, and stuff was getting thrown through them, TVs and glass bottles, and walls were breaking, and the camera went down the hallway. It went straight down the hallway to the window. Then it turned around and came all the way back up. And I'm sitting there watching. I'm going, oh, that's one shot. And that was like really the first time I'd actually looked at something like that. Like, cause usually I just watch it for the story, um, or before that I started picking up on the soundtrack. I was like, oh, I like the soundtrack. I like this one song. I like this because soundtracks can do a whole number on a movie. Um, but like I saw that scene, Daredevil was like, oh, so I've been looking like at those scenes. They had that scene in it was they had that scene in this one where it was the one long shot chase him to the cabin. Um, another movie series or movie we're gonna get to is Zombieland. Did you see
Uh,
Zombieland too?
yeah.
Yeah, they had that Luke Wilson lookalike guy come up here, and he turns zombie rule, and the whole chase scene and everything inside the house was one long shot. I'm like, oh my god! So every time I start seeing like scenes like that, my mind gets blown because I'm like, that is one shot.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
I know, and ever since Daredevil, I start picking these things up, and I've been, when you listen to podcasts or watch stuff on YouTube like the kill count. I'm always going to go back to the kill count because that's kind of our big thing or whatever that I like to watch. But they always point out stuff like that. And when you go back and rewatch, you go, "Oh man, I didn't even notice that the first time." That's really cool. So, yeah. So it that was a really cool scene. I think even Raven, when she was sitting there with me, we were watching the movie. She's like, "Hey, look, this is one shot." And I'm like, "Hey, it's amazing, isn't it?" So, yeah. So that was my other scene. But yeah, the whole improvised. I didn't know it was improvised. I didn't realize it was one shot either. I guess they got the one shot. I was like, yeah, that or they ran out of plates. He broke a lot of plates. Were those real plates? Do you know? Or was like some sort of. I'm gonna assume those were real plates.
I'm not sure, but there were a lot of deleted scenes from the movie. One of them was Ash eating a squirrel as he runs after Annie when he was possessed.
Oh, what about that squirrel?
He was eating it.
Okay, yeah.
There's supposed to be a scene where Linda's severed head extends its long snake-like tongue into Ash's mouth while in the rocking chair.
Okay.
Uh, Linda's severed head is supposed to throw up black bile when she's trapped in the vice.
Okay. This head does a lot of stuff.
Yep. There was supposed to be an extended sequence of the half-headed Ed running after the characters and eventually is chopped to pieces with its body's parts flopping on the floor.
Very reminiscent of the first movie. I mean, not the half-eaten part, but the when they chopped up Scott's girlfriend.
Yeah, Scott had
She
no
had
remorse on that one.
yeah, she had her body parts all over the place, and they were all twitching and kind of wiggling and stuff like that. But yeah, yeah, Scott didn't have no remorse.
And
Yeah.
then there was a scene where Ash's face switches back to normal. Like
Yeah,
there was
well,
a
I mean,
gruesome change back.
oh,
They got
yeah,
deleted.
because he got possessed outside because he
Yep,
fell in that big water puddle, and
that was really
he's
deep.
yeah, it was really deep, and he comes out of there, he's possessed, and then I guess it's the sunlight, and he just kind of forces it out of him. Then he gets possessed later on in the movie for a longer segment, mind you. It's not just possession and depossession, but he gets possessed for a little while longer. Does a lot of chasing around the cabin, and then eventually he picks up the magnifying glass. It's like, oh, this was for my girlfriend that I beheaded. Then I chopped her head in half with a chainsaw, and that pushed the demon or the deadite out of him, which is I think what we were talking about last week. We were talking about like weaknesses, sunlight, and fluffy, fuzzy, lovey-dovey memories and stuff like that.
So, after watching the final cut of the film, producer Dino De Laurentiis knew for certain the film would get an X rating from the MPAA due to violence and gore. However, Sam Raimi argued if the film would be recut to secure that R rating, it would only be around an hour long. Since De Laurentiis wasn't allowed to release an unrated film, he ultimately decided to pseudonymously credit
Pseudo anonymously.
yeah credit his production company under the name Rosebud Releasing Corporation, allowing him to not submit the film to the MPAA and release the film without a rating.
Ooh, working around the system. I mean, like, I could honestly tell you that the standards have changed. Standards have changed. I mean, you look at this movie. You look at this movie and you go, this movie could have gotten an X rating. And then let's say we go to Evil Dead Rise or The Evil Dead, and those movies only got R ratings. I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna be much more brutal than these movies. So standards have changed. Dropping stuff over here. Jerry, we can't hear you.
So
There you go.
I actually hit my mute button. This movie came out in '87.
Yep. What was
At,
the first one? First one came out in.
I don't know off the top of my
I'll
head,
leave.
but
I'll leave it. Keep going.
the thing is though, this movie came out in the core of when the MPAA was censoring everything, because Friday the 13th, the final chapter, came out in '84. A New Beginning was in '85. You know, that we were starting to get into that middle ground of Friday the 13th where everybody was getting killed off screen so they wouldn't get the X rating.
All right. Evil Dead was 81. Evil Dead 2 was 87.
So the first Evil Dead movie came out the same year as part 2 of Friday the 13th.
Yep.
And like I say, it's in that time of MPAA hitting everything with the censor bat.
Pretty much.
So, but like you said, you know, times have definitely changed, because now what constitutes getting an R rating compared to an X rating nowadays? You don't get X rated movies anymore. And if you do, they're very, very, very far and few in between.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's like I said, they probably get away with a whole lot more nowadays than they would back then. So, um, I think overall, this movie's not like the worst, like extreme content I've ever seen. Um, I think for content reasons, I believe the first one actually is more darker in content. Um, Probably due to more or less the tree assault scene. Um, but like this one just had like a lot of kind of goofy moments. I mean, I think it was like the one time where they stepped on that thing's head or whatever, and the eye flew out, and it just kind of beeline right to Bobby Joe's mouth or whatever, you know, just you know.
That
Just,
scene was actually filmed in reverse.
so she spit the thing out.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So it just
So
I think this movie just got hammered a lot harder than it should have.
so the film is a sequel as spelled out precisely in the end credits. And I quote, Evil Dead 2, the sequel to the ultimate experience in grueling terror, was filmed in Wadesboro, North Carolina and Detroit, USA. End quote. That's in the credits.
I thought I saw something like that in the credits we were watching. I was like, what is that? What does that mean?
Well, we've talked and we've discussed a lot about the Evil Dead 2, of how great of a movie it is. But let's see what everybody else thought.
Oh boy, here comes the money.
With IMDb, with 176,000 votes, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do we give Evil Dead 2?
8.5.
Jason hitting it with the high numbers. .5, 7.8, and a 9. Man, all y'all hitting for the fences.
This is a good movie. Chase.
Unfortunately,
Oh boy.
Jason, you are strike 1.
Oh boy.
Ravenfire, strike 2. So I guess it's up to PJB Daw. Is she a strike? Or did she knock it out of the park? Strike 3, you're out. It's a 7.7 out of 10.
You missed it by what?
0.1.
Wait, what?
PJ, you almost had a home run. You almost Babe Ruth that thing straight to the fences.
Like I did last week?
Yeah.
So close. So close.
I'm going to have to get like a little noise saying that I can go ba-ding when somebody gets it. But now we move to the Rotten Tomatoes. Tomato meter.
Covered in freshness.
All right, them critics. How do you think them critics on a scale of 1 to 100 like this movie? Why are you saying congrats, Raven? She struck out.
Maybe she was congratulating her on how close she was to it.
Close only matters in horseshoes and hand grenades. So we have a 78, an 84, and an 80.
Yeah. Yeah. Give it to me.
Jason, strike 1.
Ah!
Ravenfire, strike 2. PJ, you hit with a clean double with an 88%. PJ won. 84. She was the closest. With the critics calling it an 88 on the tomato meter. Let's see what some of them had to say. Raimi delivers. At this point, I'm not sure whether he's a genius or certifiable, perhaps a bit of both. But Evil Dead 2 is the horror equivalent of the hardest drugs there are. It bypasses logic, heads straight for your pleasure centers.
Yeah, this movie was like being on drugs for a little while there.
Raimi combines animation, models, and process photography with dazzling camera angles and sharp cutting to create a marvelous collection of tricks. I hope someone gives him a chance to make a better movie someday. He made Spider-Man, so he did make a better movie.
He did. Okay, first of all, whoa. Step back. Oh. You can't compare the Spider-Man movie to the Evil Dead movie because it's two different genres.
But Spider-Man 2.
He had a much higher budget. And he also did Doctor Strange too, so.
That's right, he did do the second Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, if you see, I remember I completely forgot that he did the movie, and we were watching it, and there was a lot of stuff in the movie where I was like, "This is like Evil Dead." It has like the same kind of like camera angles. There's like some camera usage they use, kind of like the deadite point of view, where it just kind of did like first person. A lot of like a horror elements into it, and Bruce Campbell, he was in there, so there's that.
Yep. And last but certainly not least, the audience score. On a scale of 1 to 100. Boom. Jason going with the 88. PJ with the 82.
Yep.
Ravenfire with the 90. Ravenfire, I'm sorry. You're swinging for the fences and you're just so close. but you're still missing. You're off. But don't worry. You can come to bat next week.
Oh, Jerry's called you out. Jerry's called you out. So up next to bat would be me.
Jason,
Uh-huh.
you hit that triple. It's at an 89% was the audience score, with Jason getting an 88. He hit that triple with a double on base already.
I think I did that one time. I think
Not quite the grand slam. Oh, Jason, we play that MLB The Show.
Oh no, you hush. That game's rigged.
He goes 7 innings, no hits.
There's no way I could get 3 innings or 3 runs in like 1 inning and then not score the rest of the game, like at all. Rigged.
I don't score the entire game until the 9th inning.
Except the last inning, where you just start knocking them out of the park.
Sorry, PJ. You didn't get up to bat this time around. Jason already took it home. He was 1 off. Oh, that was fun. Just
all
like
right.
this movie. It was a good time. The podcast was good. It's just a bunch of good times.
So we all just sit around, have a laugh, like the table lamp and the deer.
PJ was like, I'm not. This is why I don't want deer heads in my house. And I'm like, is that why you don't want lamps in your house too? That
He's
lamp
having
over
a
there
look.
laughing at it.
He's jumping with him. They're like, oh, he's jumping. He's like, oh god.
I think that was PJ's favorite scene.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty good scene. There's a lot of good stuff in.
But what's funny is, before we call it, those deer antlers make another appearance in Ash versus Evil Dead.
But like the first episode?
No. The cop gets killed by him.
Yeah, it's in the first episode.
No, not the partner.
Oh.
The other girl does too.
They're not the same antlers.
It's in the cabin.
Oh, is it in the cabin?
Uh-huh.
Huh. Yeah, I think I remember that scene, but it's just been a while.
And don't worry, PJ. The objects are not laughing at you. They're laughing with you.
Yeah, Ash was laughing too. I mean, after a while, but he was laughing too, so yay.
Well, everybody, that's all the time we got for tonight. We will see y'all next week for Army of Darkness.
Yeah, it's not Evil Dead 3. It is called Army of Darkness.
And then we have the remake. And then we have the newest one, which is Evil Dead Rise.
Evil Dead Rise will be the first time I see that one, too.
I have yet to see it either. So I'm super excited for that one. I'm actually going
to... Oh, my God. That's going to be one of those quiet movies.
Heck no, techno.
No, it's going to be movie night. We've watched these movies, so we throughout the entire movie. We commentate on things. We make jokes. But when we get to the ones that we haven't seen, we're going to be like...
We were making jokes during like most of the Exorcist movies, and we haven't seen those.
Because those movies are garbage, Jeremy. You know it. So easy to you can't sit there and watch a non-garbage movie. You know, if you're watching a garbage movie and you haven't seen the movie, you're gonna talk to it because it's not holding your interest.
Pazuzu held my attention.
Oh, did you hear, Jeremy, that new Exorcist movie? Exorcist the Beginning or whatever it's called, that new one that's coming out that we're talking about. Pazuzu's not even in the movie. It's supposed to be like some sort of other demon.
I want Pazuzu.
Yeah, so.
Well, everyone, we will see y'all next week for Army of Darkness. Same time. Except we'll be in medieval times. So everyone, wear your chainmail, get your swords and your flails ready.
You say swords.
Your swords and your flails.
Swords.
For we are going to be the knights.
Okay. Let's say.
I was gonna go there, but I'm so glad you did.
You kind of set it up with that voice, so I was just like, if he doesn't do it right now, I'm doing it.
We are the knights who say yeah.
So, yeah, Monty Python reference for you guys out there. I probably butchered it. That's okay.
Well, everyone have a great night. We will see y'all next week.
Next week. Good night.